lesson was out of this world. Whenever you told me the war or the end of
that he really is a shit that he really did.
It's very hard to find him, actually.
Yeah.
Something else you recommended. I've been passing everything on to everyone.
Good. Okay, we're going to wait a little bit for the Zoom class. Okay. We have to coordinate. Now we have 3 audiences.
Wow.
We have the Zoom.
What time do we finish? So I can tell my
1.
Pardon? 1.
In about an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
Can't believe I'm here.
Yeah. Okay, now you have to be quiet because
Thank you then.
Now we're on.
Now you're on mute.
Okay, now I'm not on mute.
Now you're not on mute, and we can spotlight you.
Okay. You can spotlight me. And we're on YouTube. And we have a live audience here from the UK. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Listen, actually, I'm going to
Recording stopped.
I'm going to make you co-host.
Yeah.
So that because I have to leave very promptly, and then you can end the meeting.
Okay. So
Recording
now,
in progress.
good. So, okay, you do what you need to do. And when I press leave, it will make end meeting for all. That's what's going to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bezras Hashem.
Okay.
Be co-host.
Okay, Bezras Hashem. I'll be co-host. There I am. It says I'm co-host. So excited to be co-host. Okay. Hi, everybody all over the world. We're going to learn the Parsha. We're going to learn about current events. We're going to learn about Bezras Hashem. And we're going to learn about Mashiach Bezras Hashem. One of my students asked me, she said, now that Shavuos is over and the 6 days of the Miluim is over, is it bothering you, the film? It's good. And we're saying Tachanan again, for those who know what that is. And so what do we cancel? Like, what's the avoda? And the avoda right now is the avoda of loving Eretz Yisrael, loving the land of Israel, being devoted to the land of Israel, and surviving here in the land of Israel. We're going through a lot of stuff now, and as you know, we're being very, very pressured, and no one knows really what's going on, because now they just revealed that there are spies that were giving out all kinds of information within the IDF. So we're really, really in a place where we have nobody to trust but Hashem. So we'll look at the Parsha. There's a lot of fire in this week's Parsha, a lot of fire. And as you know, here in Eretz Yisrael, we're having a lot of fire. We're having a heat wave here, and it's a prolonged heat wave. Usually our heat waves are about a week. This one is already more than a week, and there's no end in sight. And I always think about the soldiers, and they're carrying around 50 pounds of, between their uniform and between their weapons and between their helmet and between their boots. And there are 50 pounds they carry. That's why when they come out of the army, they're skinny like anything, because they just all day long, they're sweating and sweating. And there's so many lies going around about what's going on here in Eretz Yisrael. So many lies. If you know of any anti-Semites, I would say send them my way and I'll talk to them, but then I just decided I don't want to do that. Because anti-Semitism is from Hashem, and it's to remind us that we have to be alone. That we dwell alone, that we're a completely different entity, and that we have a job in this world to do. And we cannot do that job loyally if we assimilate. We have to be our own culture, our own country, our own language. Sadly, I'm speaking in English, but our own language, certainly our own names, as we were in Mitzrayim, our own way of dressing. That has to be to allow us to do our job in this world, and Hashem is allowing us to do our job in this world. It might look not, but he is. Okay, so a lot of fire in this week's Parsha, and the Parsha begins with fire. It begins with the Menorah. The Menorah of the inauguration of the Mishkan in the Chumash, in the book of Bamidbar, and the inauguration of the Mishkan. We really have no idea what that feels like. I heard such a nice thing from Rav Eliyahu Meir. He's a very special speaker, or Meir Eliyahu, I forgot what is his name. He's one of these young Kirabi Israeli speakers. And he said on the concept of crying, he said, you know when we're really going to cry? When we're really going to cry? When Mashiach comes and we have the Beis HaMikdash and we see what that's like, then we're going to cry and say, how in the world did we survive and did we live without this? That's when it's going to hit us, what our previous life was and is, what our current life is. How are we going through this? Right now we're in a Hester Panim. Right now everything is hidden from us. Hashem is hidden, and His love is hidden, and the Hashgacha is hidden, the divine providence is hidden. Right now everything is hidden. Once it becomes revealed, and we feel Hashem next to us, so we're going to feel such a relief and such a release and such a joy that we'll cry over the past, saying, how could we have lived without having this? It was a very interesting take on the concept of holiness. In other words, when Shabbos comes, you cry over how did you spend the 6 days of the week without Shabbos? I don't know if we do. We just feel relief that Shabbos is here. But we don't say, how could I live without Shabbos? Because we're still in exile. But when all of this is revealed, when everything is finished, then we're going to cry from pain of what life was like for all of these thousands of years. Now, how long that crying will be, it won't be a long time. But okay, so here we have very, very famous teaching that Hashem says, Moshe, tell Aaron how to light the candles, and Aaron Vayaskein, Aaron the Cohanim, indeed, listen to exactly to what Moshe Rabbeinu said. And Rashi says, this is a very big praise for Aaron, that he didn't change anything. He did exactly as he was told to do. You know, sometimes the nicest in Chumash, for me, sometimes we just had in the Parshas of the Mishkan, when Hashem told the Jewish people to gather the donations and then to bring it all together and then to put together the Mishkan. And the Pasuk says, and the Jewish people did as Hashem said. That's the best Pasuk in the whole Torah, because since then have we ever fulfilled that Pasuk of, and all the Jewish people did exactly what Hashem said. It's a big level. So here, all the Jewish people, Aaron did exactly what Hashem said. And he did it, and that was a shevach. It was a praise of Aaron. Shelo Shina. He didn't change anything. Exactly what the instructions were, exactly to the dot. He wasn't machmir, he wasn't stringent, he wasn't makil, he wasn't lenient. Exactly what Hashem said to do is what he did, and that was considered shevach, a praise for him. So we're going to learn today from a sefer called the Menorah Naim. The Menorah Naim, the Chernobyl Rav, the Menorah Naim is written in such a way that the tzaddikim say that just looking at the letters of the Menorah Naim, here you want to just look at it. Just look at the letters a little bit. The Menorah Naim, if you look at it, so it helps your eyes to stay clean and to stay pure. The Menorah Naim, the Chernobyl Rav, means the light of my eyes, right? And the student of the Chernobyl Rav was called the Bat Ayin. The Bat Ayin, who lived in Tzfat, who was buried in Tzfat. So he wrote a book also Bat Ayin means like an apple of the eye, right? The inside of the eye. Also, to fix your eyes. We have to fix our eyes. What we have to fix our eyes mostly about is we're so used to seeing secular. We're so used to seeing things in the secular world that we think that that's a normal way of being We're so used to seeing, let's say, and we're so used to the idea or the attitude of the Western world that we forget that we have a totally different Jewish attitude that we have to tune into. Okay, so listen to what the Mishnah says. So we're learning today from the Menorah. Now the Mishnah says like this. Schar mitzvah, the merit of a mitzvah, the reward of a mitzvah in this world is another mitzvah. If you do a mitzvah, you help people, you get more people to help. You give a class, you get more classes to give. You share a share, then you get more classes to share. Whatever mitzvah you do, whatever good deed, whatever command you do, schar mitzvah, the reward of that is to get the opportunity to do another mitzvah. So that's an unending chain. Chazal tell us that there's not enough joy in this world to pay back even one mitzvah. Let's say you helped an old lady across the street. Let's say you gave somebody charity. Easy to do. Let's say you showed somebody the place in shul. Let's say you taught someone Torah. Easy. It's an easy mitzvah. The reward for that, this whole world, the pleasure of this entire world, you can't put enough pleasure in this world to reward a person for even one mitzvah. Only when is the reward given to a mitzvah? Only in the next world, when we're out of the physical bodies, or when our physical body is refined, elevated, and not bothering us and not demanding of us. In that place, in that mindset, could be the reward. Only in that place, whether it's the world of souls, but mostly it's an Olam Haba, in the world beyond time and beyond space. We have a while until we get to Olam Haba. We first have to get through Mashiach, and we have to build the Beis HaMikdash, and we have to go to the Beis HaMikdash, and we have to be cleansed of all of our past, and then we have to live in that way for a while, till the year 6,200 and change years, and then we enter into a transition time, and then we begin to approach Olam Haba. We don't have to worry about Olam Haba yet. All you need to know is that you're accruing a hotel room or a house in Olam Haba. When I mean a house, I don't mean a physical house at all. I mean a place in Olam Haba. Because every Jew is guaranteed a place in Olam Haba. The question is, what will that place be like? How big, how small, how many people are going to be there with you, what you're going to wear there. And again, none of this is physical. So the reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. So now the first thing the Rebbe teaches us here is like this. What does a mitzvah mean? So, of course, because the art scroll, Siddur, Chumash, which is, I guess we'll call it the primary English translation in this generation of Tanakh. So they'll translate the word mitzvah as a commandment. Because the mitzvah, the word sav, with savot, means to command. God commanded us, right? So we do mitzvahs because God commanded us. God is our creator, and He knows what's good for us. He knows how our soul operates. We do not understand how our soul operates. The tzaddikim a little bit understand. Regular people like us, we get a little bit of a whiff of how our soul operates, but nothing. We don't really understand so much how our soul operates. We don't really feel our soul. We actually experience life through our soul, but we don't really feel it. It's not like I can touch my soul. So we don't know what the soul feels like when it does a mitzvah, but Chazal do, Hashem does, He created us. And he tells us to act a certain way, whether it's sociological mitzvot, whether it's financial mitzvot, whether it's spiritual mitzvot, holidays, etc. But the word mitzvah in Aramaic, maybe I should put this here, and Aramaic is the sister language of Hebrew. In Aramaic, mitzvah means to be attached, to be connected to be close to. Like a savta means a friendship or a bonding. So mitzvah, Chazal tell us that the word mitzvah, it means to bond. And the mitzvah is that which allows us to bond to God. How can we connect to Hashem? We don't understand what Hashem is. We don't understand the essence of Hashem. How can we connect Him? How can we attach ourselves to Him? So Hashem said, I made a mechanism called a mitzvah. And you do the mitzvah, you'll attach to me. You'll attach to me in this world. Everyone knows that the more mitzvah you do in this world, the more connected you feel to God. Very simple. Everybody knows that. Everyone feels that and experiences that. And certainly, the more mitzvah you do, the more connected you'll feel to God in the next world, because the next world is all about just connection to Hashem. So here the Rebbe says like this. He's going to say something that in the Western world we have a hard time with. המצווה לשון סף, דהיינו, שנדבק על ידה בהשם יתברך, ואין לך שכר גדול מזה. There's no greater pleasure in the world than attaching to Hashem. So imagine you're at Yom Kippur, and you're thirsty, and you're hungry, and you had a great davening, and you did everything right, and you're proud of yourself. And now they made Havdalah and Shul, and they're handing out iced coffee. And you make your bracha shahakol, and you take your first sip of iced coffee. And they put in some sweetness, so it's sweet, cold, wet, and you say, geschmack, and it wakes you up a little bit, because the end of Yom Kippur, you're a little bit tired. Now here in Eretz Yisrael, Yom Kippur is still hot, that's why it's an iced coffee. Maybe in Chutz La'aretz, Yom Kippur is cold. Is it cold by you? Yeah? So you want regular coffee. And so you enjoy that. You enjoy your first drink after a fasting. And it's not just a drink after a fasting, but you really purified your body. And you made a good bracha. So it's not like a gashmiistic thing. It's a ruchniistic thing. It's a spiritual kind of attachment. So that pleasure, I just gave that as just popped into my head. Sorry. Or imagine any kind of a pleasure that you have. Now we've all experienced pleasure in our life. So the pleasure that we have is nothing compared to the pleasure of attaching to Hashem. Now, did you ever attach to Hashem? Maybe on your spiritual occasions, but you've also had other kinds of pleasure in your life. The Rebbe here says, there's nothing as great as a soul binding to God. And again, it's hard for us to relate to that because we like to, the pleasure that we have in this world, we have spiritual pleasure. We have pleasure of our children, marrying off a child, seeing the children going in the right direction, the right path. All of that's pleasure. But the biggest pleasure is שנדבק על ידה להשם יתברך, to connect to Hashem. והנה מצווה מאותיות השם הוויה ברוך הוא, and the name and the word mitzvah. Now we're going to learn a little bit of, I don't have my blackboard in front of me. Write in your mind or write on your notes that you're taking the word mitzvah. Mem, tzadik, vav, he. If you do not know Hebrew, so you have to learn Hebrew. Everybody has to learn Hebrew nowadays. There's online courses, there's internet. There's no reason why you shouldn't learn Hebrew. Take a course. Take YouTube. YouTube teaches people everything. One of my friends, her son learned his profession on YouTube. And now he's a building contractor. And he builds houses in Ramat Beit Shemesh. And he learns it all on YouTube, and he's really, really good. He has high-end stuff. You can learn anything on YouTube. You learn Torah on YouTube. Don't look at the bad on YouTube. Look at the good on YouTube. Anyway, you have to learn how to spell, how to write in Hebrew. You have to learn how to write and how to read all levels of Hebrew, meaning printed Hebrew, script Hebrew. Okay, so
yeah. I don't want to interrupt you, but there's some kind of voice feedback on our Zoom one. I don't know if it's also on the YouTube one.
Okay.
But it's a kind of funny sound.
What about now? I turned off the fan.
So much better.
Sorry, everybody. Turned off the fan. You're okay without a fan? Okay, it's okay. Sorry up until now, all of these 20 minutes of 15 minutes of share with noise in the background. Thank you for telling me that, Kitty. Okay, so by the way, don't be shy to say that. Anybody who can, if you see that it's not, the sound is not clear, so tell me. Okay, mitzvah, mem, the letter mem, the letter tzadik, the letter vav, the letter he. Now in Hebrew, there are many, many different ways to write a word and many different letter associations called gematria. Gematria, people think that gematria just means numerical, so the numerical value of each Hebrew letter, but really gematria means all the different, the whole subject of aleph-based letters, Hebrew letters, and how they relate, how they interact, how they interrelate to each other. So in the word mitzvah, you have the vav he. Vav he, if you spell out God's name, how do you spell God's name? Yud, and then the letter Yud, the letter He, and then the letter Vav and the letter He. And by the way, that's how you're supposed to say it. The Sephardim know how to say it without any problem. When we say Yud K, Vav K, we're actually changing. We're making a. Okay, that's how the Ashkenazim ended up, saying the name of Hashem without having any problems. But really, the best way to say it is how it's written in the Sephardic Sidurim. Ot Yud, the letter Yud. Ot He, the letter He, Ot Vav, the letter Vav, Ot He, the letter He. That way you're not making any problems, because Hashem's name is so holy that we don't want to have any problem saying it. Or you say the word Hashem. Or you say Havaya. Now by Chabad, they say a lot, they'll call Hashem, they'll rearrange the letters in Hashem's name, they'll say Havaya. So Yud Ke Vav Ke. So look at the word mitzvah. Mem Tzadik, Vav He. Look at Hashem's name. Letter Yud, letter He. Letter Vav, letter He. So sounds similar, right? The two last letters are the same. And guess what? There's a rule in Gematria called Atbash. Atbash. What does Atbash mean? At, the letter Aleph, can exchange for the letter T. At, first letter of the alphabet, could exchange for the final letter of the alphabet. Bash, bet letter, the second letter of the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet, can be exchanged or can be it can be replaced by the shin, by the second to the last letter, right? And the third would be gimel and reish, etc. And then daled and kuf. So you can split the Hebrew alphabet into half because there's 22 letters. The first letter of the first letter can always be interchanged with the final letter. Second to last. Third to last. The middle letters are mem and nun. I think they flip into each other. So in Atbash, in this special gematria, the mem is a yud, and the tzadik is a he. So there you have the name mitzvah is the name of Hashem. Just that the first two letters are hidden, and the second two letters are revealed. Put that on the side for one moment. Did you ever see, now some of you who are very spiritual or who have Sephardic Sidurim or have Hasidic Sidurim, so you've seen or you've learned you learned Sfarim, there's a concept called L'Shem. Did you hear that concept? L'Shem Yichud Kudsha B'Yichud Shchinte. That means, L'Shem means for the purpose of. I'm now fulfilling I'm now, whatever I say this phrase before I begin a mitzvah. L'shem yichud kudsha b'yichud shchinte. For the purpose of, for the sake of yichud. Yichud means the coming together, the unification, the attachment of kudsha b'yichud, Hashem, l'shchinte, and the Shechina. What does that mean? So there are many, many different levels of what that means. Now we're going to learn, again, we're learning from the Menorah about the fire of the menorah and about the fire that Aharon had in him. And remember that Aharon was from a place of Hod. Hod means majesty. It means humility, but it's on the left side. And in terms of the Sefirot, the left side is always the side of fire. The right side is always the side of water. and air, and peacefulness and kindness. And the left side is fire, and also earth, which is conquering and power. So what does it mean, a mitzvah? A mitzvah is that connection between Shechinte, between Kudshabichu Hashem, and the Shechina. What does that mean? So on one hand, we could say it means a connection between God and the Jewish people. Because the Jewish people, we carry the Shechina. And that's why a Jew is always supposed to be dignified and dress appropriately. Because we're the bearers happily and proudly of the Shekhinah presence, of the presence of Hashem in this world. And that's why, according to Kabbalah, that's why there's anti-Semitism. There's anti-Semitism in this world because the evil people in the world who are anti-Semites for no reason, those evil people sense, their soul senses that we carry the presence of God into the world. And they don't want the presence of God in this world. And even if they might say they are, and they might say they're religious goyim, religious non-Jews, and they have whatever, but the presence of God in this world is shalom. One of God's names is shalom. Shalom means peace. Shalom means peace. Anyone who wants God's presence in this world has to be an advocate for peace, not for killing, and not for persecutions, and not for murders, etc., etc. And not for beating up people. You know that I saw a crazy thing, just to show you what anti-Semitism is and how it's so horrific. So I think this is in America, not in the UK, some anti-Semite, of course with his face covered because they're all embarrassed to show their identity. So there was an older Jew walking down the street, a man in his 70s, and this anti-Semite started screaming at him, "Free Palestine, free Palestine." And so a bunch of normal people told this guy, "Shut up, get away, leave him alone. How are you freeing Palestine by yelling at this old man?" So what did the guy do? What did the anti-Semite do? He spit at this Jew. And tell me, what is that? Are you freeing Palestine? You want to free Palestine? You want to help Arabs? You know what? Come to Israel. Go to Gaza. Hang out in Gaza. Give out some ISIS to the Gazan kids. We need to free Palestine by spitting at an old Jew who doesn't even live in the land of Israel. Maybe if he lived here, it's one thing. So let's go back. So the concept of a mitzvah is attaching God to this world. That's what a mitzvah does. And that's why right now, the biggest mitzvah that we need to do right now, and all the tzaddikim concur, everybody is saying the same thing. The biggest mitzvah is between Jew to Jew, between Ben Adam l'Chavero. We're really basically pretty good at Ben Adam l'Makom. There's hechsherim for everything. There's a kosher way of doing everything. Food, vacations, clothing. You know, there's a hechsher on clothes here. There's a certain company that I forgot what I think they called it. I don't want to get sued or anything. This has nothing to do with the OU. But some Israeli company heard that the OU is like the biggest kosher organization in the world. So they opened up a fashion line called OU. But not one inside, not the letter U inside the O, just the letter O and the letter OU clothing. Because they wanted to like give over the idea that it's kosher clothing. So Ben Adam l'Makom, we're pretty good, but Ben Adam l'Chavero, we see, we're having challenges. I always say that every time there's an election here, it's because Mashiach is almost about to come. Whenever they call for elections. Why do they call for elections? Because elections always make arguments. They always make fights here in Israel. All of a sudden, everybody's angry at everybody else. Even during a war, we have people get angry at each other. It's a schlepped out war, this war, and everyone's frustrated because they're seeing how the government is not allowing the army to do its job. And that's a big, big problem. Okay, so what does it mean that the mitzvah is shchinte, yichud kodesh b'yichud shchinte? So now the Rebbe says like this: since the word mitzvah, the first two letters are hidden and the last two letters are revealed. That means there's two parts to a mitzvah. There's the hidden part and then there's the revealed part. The revealed part is what we're doing right now. Right now we're sitting and talking and learning Torah. Right now we're sitting and talking and learning Torah. That's revealed. The hidden part are the intentions that we have by sitting and learning and teaching and doing the mitzvah. That's the intention that a person has. A person, and you need both. In order for the mitzvah to turn into Hashem, to Yud Kei Vav Kei, the letters of Hashem's name, you need that the Mem Tzaddik, the first part of the mitzvah, turns into the Yud and the Hey. How do you do that? By having intent, by having the proper intention, by paying attention to the mitzvahs that you're doing. How many times did I drive to work? And I used to live in America, and I had a car, and I had to drive to work. Now, Baruch Hashem, I live in Israel. I don't have a car, and I take a bus to work. And I walk back, because up the hill, we take a bus. Down the hill, we can walk. So, but when I would drive to work, sometimes I would be, for those people who know New York, and, so you don't know New York, but I would be on the Van Wyck Expressway, which is like they say it's the longest parking lot in the world, I think. Well, one of them. And I would have driven from my house, and I would be like halfway to school, to teaching, and I would think to myself occasionally, how did I get here? I don't remember doing it. I mean, because I'm doing a million things at once. I used to daven in the morning in the car, put on my makeup in the car, eat breakfast till I got to. So I was distracted. I wasn't paying attention to. Of course, I was paying attention to driving because you do that automatically, but I wasn't really focusing on the driving. And that's called action without paying attention. Now, action without paying attention, the action gets done. I got to school. I didn't, Baruch Hashem, get into any accidents, but I wasn't really into the driving. Okay, who needs to be into the driving? You don't need to be into the driving. You just need to get to where you have to go. But that's not how it is with work, with mitzvahs. With a mitzvah, you have to pay attention to what you're doing. That's why really before we begin any shir, and I was saying to myself this morning, I should do this before every shir, we should say, I want to learn this Torah to come closer to Hashem and to bring peace to the world. And I want to say and to share over something that I was privileged to learn. And you want to say, and I want to accept whatever it is that the tzaddikim that we're learning from this forum. So the word mitzvah has two parts to it, the hidden and the revealed. Every Jew has two parts to us, the physical and the spiritual. The spiritual is not revealed. Your thoughts are not revealed. Your soul is not revealed. We don't see that. We just see the physical part of us and what we do. So whenever we make an attachment between the intention that a person does and the action that they do, or whenever we make a connection between the soul and the body, or whenever we make any kind of attachment between the physical and the spiritual, that's called a mitzvah. Part of it is concealed, part of it is revealed. The same thing with learning Torah. There's two parts to learning Torah. There's a revealed mitzvah. There's a revealed Torah. What brachas you make on cherries, you make ha'etz. What, can you turn on the light on Shabbos? No. The halachas, the actual actions, we have the revealed part of the Torah, the actions that we do. And then we have the sod. The sod is the secrets behind every single thing in the Torah, the Kabbalah, the mystical aspect of the Torah, the soulful aspect of the Torah. The Torah also has two dynamics to it, and we need both. You know that you can't just learn the spiritual. You have to actually have action. You have to do the mitzvah. You have to fulfill the mitzvah. You have to fulfill Shabbos. You have to learn all the laws of Shabbos and fulfill Shabbos. Make Shabbos. I know that you say, you want to make a good Shabbos, right? You want to keep Shabbos on the highest level. You have to learn what the Shabbos is. You want to keep your mouth on the highest level. That means you have to learn all the laws of Shmiras HaLashon. Every single day you have to learn the laws of Shmiras HaLashon, a little bit of Hilchos Shabbos. You have to learn the laws of kosher. Is this kosher, is it not kosher? The laws of blessings. Can I eat this? Can I not eat this? The laws of money. Am I allowed to lend money? Can I borrow money? The laws of how we're supposed to dress, how we're supposed to wear, where can we walk? That on Shabbos, if you're in an area on Shabbos without an Eruv, then there's certain places where you can't carry, and there are certain places if you're, let's say people are going now upstate New York, in America they go, I don't know if they still do this, when I used to live in America all those years ago, they would go to the farmland, to the country, to the what do you call that? To
Cats.
the Catskills, you know that word, but what do you call it when you go to like the outskirts of the city where there's parks and people would have like the little summer homes there. And some of these little summer communities are surrounded, there's like a little community in the middle of nowhere. And there's a law of how far you're allowed to walk on Shabbos, even if you're not carrying anything. You can't walk past the Tzchum Shabbos. There's a lot to learn. That's the physical. And there's the spiritual of the intention behind. The intention behind every single mitzvah is the same. I want to fulfill Hashem's will. But then the intention, that's the primary intention. And I want to pay attention to what I'm doing. Then the intention of what is this creating in me? What is this doing in the level of my soul? That you could learn. That's what Kabbalah is all about. So here's what the Rebbe says. The Rebbe says that when Aaron the Kohen, when he didn't change an iota from what Hashem told him, he was able to make a unification between what he was doing, and all the intentions and all the kavanot and all of the high-level thoughts that Hashem had for him. And he was able to pass that into all the Cohanim. Anybody here who's a Kohen, a Bat Kohen, your son-in-law's a Kohen, your whatever, Cohanim have something in their spiritual dynamics that's very, very remarkable, and that helps them to be devoted to Hashem on a very, very deep level. Cohanim and Leviim. Levi is the higher tribe, and the Kohen is a particular family within the tribe. They were given by Hashem in this week's Parshat. They were given by Hashem a certain added dimension into their spiritual genetics, just like we have physical genetics, right? Their spiritual genetics. And the Kohanim were given an extra level of devotion in this week's Parsha, because in this week's Parsha they get anointed. Now you know how the Kohanim were anointed, or were not anointed. They were anointed, but they were also given how they were like how their job was announced. Is that first Aaron and then Moshe Rabbeinu lifted up all the Kohanim. They lifted them up. I'm not sure exactly how that worked physically. Some say that they lifted them by their elbows. They just lifted them up physically, as if to acquire them for God. Because you know that if you want to buy something, if you want to purchase something, according to halacha, you have to move it. You have to lift it. You know, that's why there's a different level of how you acquire land. Land can't be lifted, so you have to work the land. But if you acquire any item, okay, so you pay for it, then you take it with you out of the store, right? So by picking it up, that's when you're halachically acquiring it. So Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron the Kohen literally lifted up all the Leviim, the Cohanim and the Leviim. They lifted them into their job, and by doing that physical act, they infused them with a spiritual dynamic that's to this very day, thousands and thousands of years later, is found in the spiritual dynamic, in the spiritual genetics of a Kohen. And now that we have genetics, we can prove this. And I remember years and years ago, I had a student who was a geneticist. Her last name is Levy. I forgot her first name. If she's ever listening, she has to contact me. I'd love to talk to her some more. A very, very petite young woman came to Neve, and somehow, you know, in the course of, we went to class or whatever, but in the course of the conversation, she revealed that she's a doctor of genetics. And I said, oh, I need to talk to you. I love to tell me everything about genetics. I love to hear about it. And she told me about this Cohen gene and all the markers on the genes. And I'm just saying now, was at least 15 years ago. So the progress in genetics now is, I'm imagining it has progressed. But Cohanim, how did we find out a little bit about the patriarchal gene? Because whoever was doing genetic testing 35, 40, 50 years ago was looking for cultures that have a patriarchal tradition. Something is passed from the father to the son. Because we know that things are passed from the mother to the children, but the father to the son, only to a son, not to a daughter. And they began doing research, and of course they heard about Cohanim, and they began to test the genes of the Cohanim, and sure enough, there's a marker that gets passed down from the father to son. Okay, there's another type of a teaching called Lishma. When we do something l'shem shamayim, right? So a mitzvah Lishma. So here the Rebbe says that we have to do a mitzvah Lishma. Lishma means for the sake of the mitzvah. So let's just say that you have, the 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach. We have a lot of b'nei Noach that look on the YouTube, and I'm welcoming them to do that. Because you have to know how to fulfill the mitzvahs of the commandments of the b'nei Noach. So the Noahites, the b'nei Noach, have to do 7 mitzvahs. And their mitzvahs: don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, create court system, believe in God, don't curse God, and don't eat animals alive. And all of the subsets of all of those mitzvahs. So if a non-Jew is, fulfills all those mitzvahs, but not for the right reasons, he just never has the opportunity to kill, to steal, to commit adultery. And he believes in God because he believes in God. He doesn't ever curse God. He never ate an animal because he's a vegetarian. And he observes the laws of his country. So he keeps the 7 mitzvahs of enough, but not with intention, not with intent. And that person has not fulfilled the 7 mitzvahs ben Noach. He's not called a ben Noach, because the idea is you have to fulfill the 7 mitzvahs because they're written in the Torah that God gave to the world and to the Gadol and to the Jewish people in particular. So that means even a ben Noach has to do the mitzvahs Lishma. Lishma means for the sake of fulfilling God's commandment. For us, it means something in addition. And here's what the Rebbe says also. He says that that we know the dynamic of male-female. And the dynamic of male-female, I'm talking about the words, male and female, masculine and feminine. There's a spiritual dynamic there. It's not about men and women. It's about a dynamic called the male dynamic and the female dynamic. And the concept is the male dynamic is giving and the female dynamic is receiving. So in other words, I don't even have to call it male and female. I can just call it the dynamic of giving and the dynamic of receiving. Right now I'm giving and you're receiving. Right now, the Rebbe here that I'm saying, looking at his sefer, he's giving me and I'm receiving. And now if you would ask me a question or make a point, then you would be the giver and I would be the receiver. It's a constant back and forth. We breathe in, we breathe out. Everything is dual in this world. That's why the Torah begins with the letter Bet. Everything is 2, right? Electricity is dual. Forgot how it works. Positive and negative energy, right? So he says like this. The physical aspect of a mitzvah is called the female aspect of the mitzvah. And the intention of the mitzvah is called the male aspect of the mitzvah. And so just like you need a unification of male-female to create a child, you need a unification of action and thought or intention to create the holiness that a mitzvah has to create into this world. And that's called Lishma. Lishma means for the sake of creating this unit in the world called holiness. And believe it or not, a human being has the ability to infuse into this world holiness if he or she does an action commanded by God with the intention of fulfilling God's command. So for example, let's say, the 7 mitzvahs ben Noach are not action mitzvah. The only action mitzvah that they have, the positive active, is to believe in God. And also to create a court system or to establish laws. But don't kill is a negative. Don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't eat live animals, don't curse God. That's 5 don'ts. And then believe in God and create a court system or support the government. That would be the positives. So let's say a non-Jew wants to bring more holiness into the world. So they have to sit down and actually do an action. They're going to sit down and say, I believe in God, and I believe in God to fulfill the mitzvah, fulfill God's commandments that he's given to the entire world, the entire universe, in the Torah that he gave to the Jewish people. That non-Jew says that he has just created an actual chunk, a nugget of holiness in this world that combats negativity and combats sadness and bad and evil and all of that. Now, for a Jew, all day long we're doing mitzvahs, all day long we're making blessings. But when you make a blessing on food, are you thinking about, I'm making a blessing on the food so that I can eat the food? Or you're making a blessing on the food so that, because God told me to, and then I'm able to not just eat the food because now I have permission to eat the food, but I'm also making a blessing on the food because God told me to. And I'm also making a blessing on the food because there's holiness in this food and I want to release it to the world. I want to release it to the universe. So I have an opportunity by my eating. But I have to eat also. You can't just make a blessing without eating. I have to make a blessing, have to eat something, whatever I made the blessing on. And that releases into the world goodness and holiness, and it actually releases the souls of departed people who might have gotten stuck in that food. There's a concept like that. It's not a bad thing. It's just you can elevate souls, because somehow a soul, a soul is infinite, and there's infinite levels of correction that a soul could have, and infinite levels of upgrade that a soul could have. And that's why they say that even the tzaddikim come back in food, the tzaddikim come back in fish. That's why we eat fish on Shabbos, because the tzaddikim are so part of the soul of a tzaddik wants somehow to be expressed in this world. And so it comes on your plate on Shabbos, your salmon or your gefilte fish or your sushi fish or whatever you eat. And then you say the covered Shabbos Kodesh, and you eat with the right intention. And that energy of that tzaddik is released into this world, and the world is a better place. So again, you have to be both action and intention. So now this week we have lots of action going on here in Eretz Yisrael. Tonight is the end of there's a festival that the Arabs have. That's why it's been quiet, even though it really hasn't been quiet. But they have a festival where they consider it their Akedat Yitzchak, except they call it Akedat Yishmael. They got this story a little bit mixed up, and they changed the Chumash to make it that Abraham, his favorite son was Yishmael, even though that's not true. And the Torah, they got their Quran from our Torah, but part of their Quran, our Torah didn't support their need for being superior. So they changed the stories a little bit. Christianity also changed words and stories a little bit. That's okay. We're used to that. We know that. Anyway, they're having their holiday now. They go to Saudi Arabia now. They go to their temple in Saudi Arabia and Mecca, and they're having a heat wave there also. I read in the Israeli paper that 500 people died of heat in Arabs. Muslims went on their pilgrimage. They died just of heat. So, but in the Torah tells us in this week's Parsha, first of all, the passion of doing a mitzvah with kavanah. Try our best. We have to try. That's all. We have to just try a little bit more. The Torah tells us also about the fire in the desert that we had, called the fire of glory. Hashem made every single night. Hashem made a pillar of fire. And it was in front, we saw it every night for 40 years. Millions of Jews and non-Jews saw this. Why did he do that? To light up the desert, to light up the night, to light up the darkness. And now we need that a lot. We have to daven very strongly that we should have enlightened people, light our eyes up with true Torah and true leadership. I think it's wonderful that every single day here in Israel, another corruption story is being leaked to the public. Because all the Israelis have to let go of their trust in the government. So that I really, really hope that Mashiach has a seamless transition into leading things here. The fire also, the Parsha tells us, of the fire of the special trumpets that Hashem commanded us to blow whenever we have a war. It's the Parsha. It's actually today in the Revi'ah, in the fourth section of the Parsha, tells us that if we ever have to go to war, the Chumash is telling us, God is telling us, there's going to be occasions to go to war here in Israel with our enemies who are trying to hurt us and defend and destroy us. When we go to war, the first thing we do is blow the shofar. Special shofar, not the shofar from Rosh Hashanah. Special shofar, not made out of animal, but made out of metal, called chatzotzrot. Trumpets, 2 of them. We actually have them now. We have chatzotzrot that the Machon HaMikdash has already constructed. They're kosher chatzotzrot, and they blow them every once in a while to remind us that we're in a war and we have to be unified. That's what the chatzotzrot did. It was to remind us, come together. You don't have to come together with enemies of God. You have to come together with Amcha, with a person who's with you. Okay, ladies. We want to daven. We want to daven for peace here in Eretz Yisrael, number one. We want to daven that everybody should be safe, that the Chatufim, whoever is are alive, should be rescued, and that they should get healed, that the soldiers should stay safe and strong and successful, and that the Erev Rav government should fall and be replaced by the tzaddikim, by the true government, the true leaders of the Jewish people, who do not want assimilation, but want a Jew to stay a Jew. Why else are we here in the land of Israel if not for the Torah? Why else what right do we have to the land of Israel if not for the Torah? And one of the tzaddikim of this generation said just recently that the reason that that there's a war now is because the soul of the Arab world, the soul, the sar, the spiritual energy of the Arab world senses that it's a time where he can present the following argument to God. And the argument that he's presented to God is, why do the Jews deserve the land of Israel? Only because of their allegiance to Torah. But they're not aligned with Torah now, so they don't have a right to the land of Israel. That's the argument that, I'm not making this up, the tzaddikim is saying this now. That's the argument that the sar, that the heavenly angel representing the enemies of the Jewish people has presented to the court above. Baruch Hashem, that heavenly angel doesn't know the answer, and the answer is Hashem promised us. Hashem put us through a very, very hard exile. In the beginning of the Jewish people, we were all unified, we all lived together, and we were all observant, basically, of the laws. And now with 3,300 years, 3,333 years since the giving of the Torah, and 2,000 years of exile scattered through the entire world, and there's a remnant of us still keeping Torah. That's us. You know how the whole world is on our shoulders right now? The whole world is on the Jewish people, on those who are keeping Torah and Mitzvah. The whole Jewish world is on our shoulders. The more you can bring other people to Torah and Mitzvah. That's the highest thing in this world now. The Rav said the highest, greatest calling in this world is lizakot et harabim, to bring merit to other people by teaching them Torah, by introducing them to their heritage, and by strengthening our observance of the mitzvah. That's our job. And Hashem made a promise to us. We don't have to worry. When we left Mitzrayim, we weren't so perfect either, and Hashem kept his promise. And he'll keep his promise again right now. But right now, he's trying to wake us up a little bit. So let's wake up. Hashem, certainly, I saw a clip somebody sent me of I don't know who this person is, but he's clearly a very famous Israeli person. And he was saying that he never said Moda'ani in his life. He never really woke up. When he woke up in the morning, he never said Moda'ani. The first words that we say, the first words that a Jew, and a non-Jew could say this also, Moda'ani lefadecha. I thank you. I present my thanks to you, Melech Chai v'Kayim, the living God, Shechsarta bi nishmasi, that you have restored my soul to me, b'chemla, in a merciful way. Rabbi Malatecha, your faithfulness is huge, it's great, because you recreated me, you made me alive again. Anyone can say that. That's the first thing a Jew says in the morning. The first words that come out of your mouth have to be Moda'ani. So this Jew said, he never said Moda'ani. He never paid attention. He never woke up to God. And he said now every morning he wakes up. And he wakes up to the fact that he's a Jew. He's searching now for his Judaism. And he said that on Israeli TV. I don't know who he is, but I think he made a big roshan, a big impression on a lot of the people who listen to him. So Behaloscha means to lift up, to be picked up. Bezrat Hashem, it's also the root of Aliyah. So I'm going to tell you what I say all the time. You have to make Aliyah. V'haloscha Aliyah. You have to make Aliyah. You have to come here. Start getting the process. If you're in Chutz, either you have Nefesh B'Nefesh in the UK? No.
Yeah, we've got Dominic Mark.
What?
We have got Dominic Marks
So doing something.
Yeah.
In America, open a tick with Nefesh B'Nefesh, get your documents together. Even if you have no intention of coming here, get the ball started. Start the process. Aliyah b'haloscha, come. Lift up yourself. The land of Israel, it's always funny because when you go to the Kotel, you have to walk down the steps, right? You always wonder, but really it's on the highest level of the world. It's just physically not yet. That's what Hashem. It will be, and it used to be. It used to be actually further down. But the mountain was all lower. Anyway, b'haloscha make Aliyah, then you'll become all Cohanim, will be Mamlechas Cohanim. The Goy Kadosh will actually fulfill our destiny to be a kingdom of Cohanim and a holy nation. Should have a good Shabbos. And have a good Shabbos. And hi, Gitzi, you stayed on. Whoever's on, I can't see who's on. Yehudis is on. And Ruth is on. That means that that's Rebbetzin. Let me just see if I can see faces, and I recognize faces more than names. Hi, Yehudis, now I see you. And Gitzi, stay on, and Ruthie. Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a good Shabbos. Oh, yeah, now I have to. Do I have to end it? Let's see if I'm going to end it or leave a meeting. I don't know. Gitzi, are you still on? Leave meeting. Okay, I left the meeting. Okay, I guess I turned it off. No. Oh, no. Oh.
Well, didn't record.
No, it did. It's something else. Oh, sorry. Now the rabbis in Rishon for sure.